All right. So I definitely want to do something today. This video is basically going to serve as uh, a way for you to start your journey into big tech. I wish I had something like a repository or someone guiding me when I was younger to technology, to cybersecurity. You know, I feel like a lot of things would have gone easier in my life. So I want to just give you a few tips. Maybe you're driving, maybe you are um, working on some errands, or you may be cleaning the house, right? I want you just to keep this open while you do what you need. Um, so I'll give you the tips I use to get into tech, and then I'll have some stories in between. Uh, so if you're someone that's getting into tech and uh, trying to stand out and improve your life, this is definitely for you. All right. So the way I discovered cybersecurity was through a YouTube video. It was a YouTube video um, where they had a lot of different black and brown professionals in the cybersecurity space, right? And that talked to me because I'm a black man, uh, you know, just trying to find a profession that would pay well, uh, and something to give me a mission in life, right? Um, and you don't have to be black to listen to this video. This is for everyone, right? Who are trying to get into tech, right? But I'm just telling you from my point of view. The cybersecurity video had people in there talking about, hey, we make six figures, we make over 200K. We're doing well for ourselves, right? And at this time, right, this was like 2019. This is when certifications got very popular because they thought, hey, we're missing out on a lot of talent in America because of we're requiring 4-year degrees, but an associate's degree is enough in this space, right? And I say that because technology changes like every 6 to 10 months, right? Um, Cybersecurity is just a field where you have to learn and upskill a lot. And is that degree going to be akin of those skills that you learn, um, you know, in 5 years, 10 years? It's probably not, right? That degree is probably going to be outdated, right? But um, you can get into the field with certifications, right? But you're also going to be doing a lot of maneuvering at the same time, right? So I'll explain. Uh, Number one, you want to get certifications that are popular, that show you a baseline level of competence, right? So, back then when I was getting into tech, right, I got my Dell certifications, my A plus, Net plus, right. Also got my Security Plus and AWS certifications, right? But now, getting a networking certification is equally as important as security because networking is really the backbone of computer systems, right? How do computer systems talk to each other? And I would suggest the Cisco CCNA because a lot of companies use Cisco products. And also, you have the Network Plus, right, which is vendorless, right? It's just overall general networking concepts, right? So that's something, hey, if you want to do that, get that certification because that really helps you understand a lot of different cybersecurity concepts. You definitely want to get your Security Plus certification, and I know they're coming out with like a security AI cert as well because AI has jumped in the mix. So even cloud certifications are good. AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner, and also those advanced AWS certifications, just building things on the cloud. Microsoft Azure, you can be a cloud engineer, but for cloud, it's really about learning the platform. Cloud is going to be a software as a service, right? So just how you can find your way around, Adobe Premiere and Canva and all these other things, Photoshop. It's the same thing with cloud, right? Cloud is going to be basically a company hosting their infrastructure uh, on the web, right? Instead of having, a warehouse full of data centers, right? They're using third party services like Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure, Oracle, right? Amazon, Azure, Oracle, they say, hey, you don't have to go and buy a warehouse. You don't have to buy servers or databases. You can just use us. You can use us digitally. Okay. That's why you have all these data centers that are, around the United States of America, right? So that's that, right? Look at certifications. And then once you look at certifications, you do have um, places where you can go to really put that work in use, right? Really put that knowledge in use, okay? So listen carefully about trying to get work and going about internships. All right, so when it comes to working, it's hard, right? It's 2026 and internships aren't readily available like how they were 6, 7 years ago. Um, you do have to be very creative these days. Um, and back then, when I was trying to get my first, years of experience, I went on Volunteer Match and I found a nonprofit in Philadelphia, right? That's where I'm from. That's where I was living at the time. And, you know, I kind of targeted companies that just needed help. And you can do this a lot of different ways. The websites like Volunteer Match and all those nonprofit helping sites, right? They are booked to a T. You have to know someone and you have to be a part of an organization or a social group. And I would say for you getting into tech, find a social group that works with computers. And when I say that, like, they use computers, uh, for their daily activities or their biweekly um, activities, and use a computer to kind of build up your portfolio case, right? So this is one of the fields where you can make your own experience. It's beautiful, right? You don't have to wait for someone to put you on or give you, legitimate work, right? You can build your own servers, you can build your own projects, you can build your own free AWS account, your free Azure account. You can do a lot of different things and be creative and put that on a portfolio or put that on a resume, right? You just don't want to be like someone that is idle, right? You don't ask permission to do the things that you want to do, right? Same when you have a job. You don't ask permission to say, hey, I need a second job. You just go and do it, right? And whatever consequences come after that, they come, right? But you're not waiting on someone to hand you an internship or a job, right? You're just going to go out and get it, right? A lot of people don't make themselves stand out. So in this field, right, who's dressing up and putting on baccarat and actually going to these companies and saying, hey, can I talk to the head cybersecurity officer or the CISO? Let me see if they have any job openings, right? We've been in a world where people rely on the internet or they over rely on, not being social with other people, right? And the way you not step, but the way you set yourself apart is doing unconventional things, right? How are you going to stand out if you just submit your job application and no one knows who you are. They don't know your face or anything like that, right? I'm a big proponent of going into these offices and bring your portfolio and telling them who the heck you are, right? Who are you? What value can you bring to a company, right? So, um, after you get your certifications, be sure to look for organizations, whether nonprofit or real organizations, to uh, showcase your skills or be of assistance to them, right? And for me in Philadelphia, it was a company who, a nonprofit who, taught children how to use Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, right? I had to secure the virtual desktop environment, right? And I put that on my resume, right? And that leads me into other instances where I worked as a contractor, right, for a bank, doing security research and understanding how hackers could get into their database and what are some of the oversights in security, authorization and authentication. I literally just put my hands on anything. I was like, yo, I'm about to figure out where I can get in, what social clubs I can do to lend my skills. I don't care if it's a church, I don't care if it's the book club, I don't care if it's the YMCA. I'm working on a computer. Nobody can tell you to not touch a computer. No one can. No one can tell you not to, uh, spin your own server or get your own free AWS account. Right. So get the certifications, and then look at nonprofits, look at clubs, social clubs, faith groups or organizations that just need pro bono help. And right, pro bono is, hey, it's free, or, not at a cost that equals money, right? So you want to do that. And then after that, right, you'll be in position to land your first role. So I'll tell you what I did when I landed my first role and how my experience came to play and how it made me more curious. So I landed my first role. My first role was a help desk engineer at a medical company. And at the medical company, I was restarting computers, passwords, and remoting in because we were working with doctors in different hospitals, right? And it was a tough job. It was a tough ass job. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, it was so much going on, right? It was so much going on, but I learned a lot of different things. And when you get your first role, you might mess up a lot. You might not know what to do. You might need to watch people configure things or watch people do password resets. But this is where your learning really starts. The company that hires you, they don't expect you to come in and be, Marty McFly and know how to do everything, right? They expect some base level competence, but they know like, hey, you're still getting your feet wet, and we chose to invest in you, right? That's I think one of the cool thing about companies is like, hey, we'll take a risk on you, and whatever you don't know, we'll teach you on the job, right? So don't pain yourself for not knowing everything. Um, at this moment, when you get your first entry level tech job, it's more about feeling what you're comfortable with, what you're curious about, and what um, what area or expertise you see yourself in with tech. Um, so, like my first help desk role at the pharmaceutical company taught me that fast-paced environments are stressful as hell, but they're rewarding and you learn a lot. And then from there, I was able to learn basic skills, with computer repairs, software repairs, and installation and support, etc. Right, but I think the gold in this situation, right, the um, the gold mine is learning from people who's been on the job longer than you, or people who are willing to help you um, improve your knowledge, gain some skills. Okay, and then from there on, right, you make a choice of, hey, maybe I'll stick with this for another 6 months, or maybe I'll work here for another 5 years, right, until you're ready to climb the ladder. After I was done with the medical company, I worked with a university, and that was fun, right? It was fun for several reasons, because you get to go to classroom and talk to people, meet new people, um, and you're touching, classroom technology. You're touching enterprise grade technology. You're touching cloud, cybersecurity, network, and server racks. Oh man, that job was fun as hell, right? But I was learning a lot of different things about the business, right? Help desk is fun because it's a lot of low risk work, and everyone around you, um, has an idea of what they're doing. If you don't know what to do, they're gonna help you for sure, right? They're gonna help you with everything. So that role was cool. I learned a lot about installation. I learned a lot about Dell computers. That was like one of my first certifications. But at this point, I'm just learning a lot about everything, and that's where my knowledge, or my curiosity of cybersecurity peaked, because we did have a cybersecurity analyst at the job I was working at the time, and she allowed me to shadow her as I worked through the ranks of help desk. She showed me how to work a SIM, uh, what to look for when it came to vulnerabilities and weaknesses, how to extract malware off a system. Man, I learned a lot from her, man, and I'm so fortunate that she gave me the chance to shadow her, right? But if you're at a job and you're doing help desk, and there is a cybersecurity analyst, yo, how can I get into cybersecurity? How can I make your job easier? Because their eyes are gonna light up, man. I tell this to everybody. Their eyes are gonna light up. They're like, man, I got a companion. I get to help someone get into cybersecurity. Like, yeah, like you get to shadow people. You become an apprentice. That's how a lot of people, get these job roles, right? They were an apprentice. They're in an apprentice program, and they started learning security maybe at a younger age, but they had someone that was willing to get them, uh, you know, to the level they aspired to, right? They gave them guidance, and the thing I really take away from working with that cybersecurity analyst at my help desk role um, at the university was like, you have to collaborate with people. You have to be open to constructive criticism or learning new things, man. Like I'm telling you, it's really good for your growth, right? Because um, when we go into big tech, it is collaborating with different people, right? And honestly, when you start collaborating in big tech, it's like, woof, everything comes at you so fast. So as I was at the university, as I was working with the cybersecurity analyst, a spot opened up for junior cybersecurity analyst, and I jumped on it. I jumped on it with the quickness, and I was doing, you know, cybersecurity work, but like cybersecurity work, I would look at the SIM and, I would eradicate viruses off of computers. I would do security training as well, and at this point, you really want to make sure you have a portfolio, right, that documents all your work because that's something that makes you different and sets you apart from a lot of different candidates. Um, I'll give you an example. Just recently, I just interviewed two candidates for a director position, and the candidates, they had good resumes, and they've been working like you know ever since I was a baby, right? So they've been working, you know, 25, almost 30 plus years. I'm only 32, and they had their resumes uh, formatted old school, traditional. But one thing they didn't have was a portfolio. Now, I'm someone that I keep a portfolio. I keep a portfolio of my work. And when I say portfolio, it shows screenshots of me spinning up servers, me helping the community learn more about security or AI, screenshots of me running code, or it just basically shows the work I'm capable of doing and the work I do, right? So I think those are the things that have gotten me jobs because, the job market is tough and it's competitive. But I would say no one's doing that. No one's going into these offices with a baccarat on and a nice suit and asking to see the CISO and asking, hey, do you have any roles that are opening up? Like, you know, again, we're in a digital world now where people barely like to interact. It's like people are so reluctant to interact. Um, so, me getting in that cybersecurity role like really piqued my curiosity um, in transitioning, and then from there on, I just basically did my junior cybersecurity role until I got my offer from a Fortune 100 company. Okay. Now, the way I got this offer, right, this is where the people thing comes in, right? I was on the phone with someone that worked at the company, and I called them twice. We had a good conversation. And they were like, hey, apply to this role. I think you'll be great for it, right? That's where the people skills come in, right? And then you also have to worry about the interviews, right? Because these jobs, right? These jobs at the Fortune 100 companies. So I'm talking about jobs that are in line with Google, Netflix, uh, Apple, right? Their interview processes are insane. They're freaking nuts, right? If you're interested in big tech, um, I'm talking about 4 or 5 interviews, right? And when you have 4 and 5 interviews, that means that it was a close race for candidates, right? And a lot of these big tech companies, they interview internally as well, right? So um, here are some of the things I did at the Fortune 100 company uh, that upgraded my experience, that upgraded my communication, that upgraded my perspective in big tech and cybersecurity, right? So I made it to the pinnacle, right? I made it to Fangland, FAANG, right? Look that term up, but I made it to places that most people in the world don't get a chance to work at, right? Your Apples, your Googles, your Netflixes, your Amazons. And these companies are big as hell. They have the best software, they have the best, um, you know, benefits, high salaries. I'm talking about entry level. You might be looking at 150 plus. They have stock that they give you so you can stay at the company if you're like very high performing. You know, these companies, right? They have plenty of money to spend, right? But they're also trendy companies, right? And everybody is fighting for a position at this company, right? People will look at your employment history on LinkedIn, and they'll try to message you like, "Hey, is there any positions open at such and such? Hey, can you give me a recommendation?" You may not even know this person, right? But you know, it is like the dream for a lot of people, right? I want to work at Google, right? I'll do anything to work at Google, right? But there's also things that you may not um, take account for, right? A lot of these companies promote diversity. A lot of them promote fairness. A lot of them promote, um, you know, paid time off, unlimited paid time off. And you get there, you're doing the work, and because the company is so generous with money and benefits and perks, right? It creates a ultra competitive environment, right? And if you want to go into big tech, you have to understand that some people are cutthroat as heck. They will do anything to keep their job, even if it means putting you under the bus. I have some friends, some acquaintances that work at companies like Microsoft and Google, and they love their jobs. Some of them hate them, but they're not leaving, right? Because it's like, I'm at the pinnacle. If I leave here, what's better than this? Am I going to get the same pay, right? People take that into account. I need to keep my job. I will undercut you. I will fight tooth and nail to make sure I keep my job and make sure you don't have your job. Like you're getting great perks. You're getting stock that you can sell, and then you done came up 15,000, 20,000. Like that's happened to me, right? Like this is not a normal job, right? But that means that you have to do a lot of work. Well, a lot of work is work 11 hours a day. Sometimes you may work on a weekend, even though it's frowned upon on. Um, a lot of it has to do with learning after hours. Big tech is, you know, again, I would say it is trendy, but there's also risks. Like they lay off a lot of people because shareholders may not be investing anymore, or market conditions, economic conditions. And also, if someone at the company has a lot of pull and they want you gone, they'll get you gone. And from experience, I've experienced that, right? You know, they'll write a whole RICO on you and point out your mistakes or point out what you didn't do. And they may not give you a heads up, and they may say one day, "Hey, you know, you're in the office or you're in a meeting with HR," and they're like, "Hey, this is all the things you did bad," right? To make themselves look like the good guy, right? And make you look like the bad guy, right? So if you want to get into big tech, you have to, number one, learn office politics, but also be good at it, right? You also have to accept like it's either you or them, right? So at this point, it's really 20% work and 80% people. That's what it looks like, right? So at a smaller company, you may wear a lot of different hats. At a big, gigantic, mammoth company, you'll have one role and you'll have to do one role well. Yeah, it's like that. So these are the things that come with working at, you know, a really great Fortune 100 company. All right. And let's say you survive at the company and you put in 10, 15 years. At that point, you'll be ready to launch your own company, right? Now you can have the firepower, the manpower from the relationships you've built. And then you can also, go into government contracting, which is very lucrative. That's a people person economy as well. You have to know people to get in, right? But yeah, essentially these are the steps to get into big tech, right? I'll make separate videos to tell you or to expound upon different points like, hey, you know, uh, how do you study for certifications, or hey, how do you become a people person? What are some of the things to watch out in big tech? How do you master the people game in big tech? Or, you know, there are a lot of different facets to this, tech game, this IT game, right? But I thought I made this recording good for someone that is just starting out. Go back in the video and take notes and write me in the comments section. What are some questions you have, or what are some videos you want to see? But I think I'm going to enjoy doing these brain dumps of my experience, right? No, nothing scripted or anything like that, just raw information, okay? So, in order to really understand this information, play this twice, maybe 3 times, 4 times, just to understand, right? Just to give you a roadmap of how to get into tech and then how to make your way into big tech, right? Curiosity is going to fuel your journey. It's going to give you the motivation to master skills. All right. So if you feel like I deserved a subscribe to me. Give me a like, share, and I will be coming out with more videos. Thank you for listening.